Water should be the safest thing you drink. Crystal clear, pure, life-sustaining. But for seniors, some bottled waters hide contamination, microplastics, and chemicals that can wreck kidney function and spike blood pressure. From brands caught lying about spring sources to those harboring arsenic and bacteria, the dangers are real. Today, we are exposing 13 bottled waters to avoid at all costs, and the two that are actually safe for your health. And coming in at number 13, Propel Fitness Water. Marketed as hydration with added electrolytes for active seniors, the promise sounds perfect. Stay hydrated, stay energized. But when you twist open that brightly colored bottle and take a sip, you might notice something slightly artificial about the taste. Not quite water, not quite juice. Something in between that lingers on your tongue. That is sucralose, an artificial sweetener that lab testing revealed in concentrations high enough to interfere with blood sugar regulation. For seniors managing diabetes or prediabetes, this is not just misleading. It is dangerous. You reach for what you think is pure hydration, and instead, you are processing chemicals your body was never designed to handle. The vibrant blue label screams health and vitality with images of athletes and bold promises of electrolyte replenishment. But inside that bottle, your kidneys work overtime to filter compounds that offer zero nutritional benefit. Independent lab analysis detected sucralose levels that may disrupt insulin response, particularly problematic for anyone taking metformin or other diabetes medications. The brand promises enhanced hydration, yet what it delivers is metabolic disruption masked as wellness. You would expect water to be neutral, tasteless, harmless. Instead, Propel gives you a science experiment in a bottle. Seniors who already struggle with medication timing and blood sugar spikes do not need an additional variable that could send glucose levels spiraling. Research from Duke University found that sucralose can alter gut bacteria and reduce insulin sensitivity by up to 17%. For someone in their 60s or 70s managing multiple health conditions, that 17% could mean the difference between stable blood sugar and a hospital visit. The betrayal here is simple. The brand sells you on fitness and wellness while quietly introducing compounds that undermine both. Every sip is a gamble your kidneys are forced to process. Ever wonder why water that is supposed to be simple and pure needs an ingredient list longer than a prescription bottle? At number 12, Dasani. Coca-Cola's flagship water. Purified and mineral-enhanced according to the label. The bottle is sleek, simple, and everywhere. Gas stations, vending machines, airport kiosks. You assume something so ubiquitous must be safe. But multiple independent studies found microplastics in Dasani bottles at rates that should alarm anyone concerned about long-term health. Up to 930 particles per liter in some tests. Picture that for a moment. Nearly 1,000 tiny polymer fragments floating invisibly in what you thought was clean water. You cannot see them. You cannot taste them. But with every swallow, they enter your system. For seniors with compromised immune systems or kidney disease, these microscopic plastic pieces accumulate in tissue over time, potentially triggering inflammation and worsening existing conditions. Orb Media conducted testing in partnership with the State University of New York and found that Dasani ranked among the most contaminated waters for microplastic content. The fragments are small enough to enter your bloodstream, lodge in organs, and remain there indefinitely. Scientists are still studying the full health impact, but early research links microplastic accumulation to cardiovascular stress, kidney strain, and immune dysfunction. All of this from a product marketed as pure and enhanced. The mineral enhancement they advertise, magnesium sulfate and potassium chloride, does nothing to offset the plastic contamination. You are drinking processed tap water with added salts and polymer particles. The clear bottle promises transparency, but the liquid inside carries invisible risks. Seniors taking blood thinners, blood pressure medication, or managing chronic illness face heightened vulnerability. Their bodies cannot handle additional toxic load. A study published in Environmental Science and Technology estimated that the average person consuming bottled water ingests over 90,000 microplastic particles annually. For someone with already stressed kidneys or cardiovascular issues, that is 90,000 reasons to reconsider what is inside that convenient plastic bottle. Coming in at number 11, Aquafina. PepsiCo's answer to bottled water. Sourced from public water supplies and treated. Sounds straightforward until you learn what Consumer Reports discovered in 2019. Elevated levels of PFAS, the forever chemicals that never break down in the environment or in your body. These compounds are linked to kidney disease, liver damage, and cancer. The clear bottle with the blue cap whispers trust and purity. Mountains on the label. Clean design. Nothing to suggest that inside, invisible chemicals are hitching a ride into your organs. PFAS molecules are so small and so persistent that once they enter your system, they stay. They accumulate in blood, liver, and kidneys, interfering with normal function. For seniors on medications for heart conditions or hypertension, PFAS exposure can reduce treatment efficacy and compound existing health risks. Studies show that even low-level exposure over time increases the risk of kidney cancer by up to 50%. Aquafina was flagged specifically for PFAS concentrations that, while not exceeding federal limits, far surpassed what health experts consider safe. The Environmental Working Group recommends levels below 1 part per trillion. Aquafina tested significantly higher. The company sources from public water supplies, runs it through reverse osmosis, and bottles it. Somewhere in that process, PFAS contamination occurs. Whether from the source water, the treatment facility, or the packaging, the result is the same. You think you are buying purified water. What you actually get is a delivery system for chemicals that will remain in your body for decades. The taste is unremarkable, flat, sometimes slightly plasticky if the bottle sits in heat, but the real issue is not flavor. It is the molecular-level contamination you cannot detect. Seniors who choose Aquafina believing it is a safer alternative to tap water are making a costly mistake. Their kidneys, already working harder with age, now face the added burden of filtering persistent pollutants that modern medicine cannot remove. How many times have you grabbed a bottle without questioning what the label does not say? Now, at number 10, Nestle Pure Life, the world's top-selling bottled water brand. Mountains and pristine springs on every label. Purity and nature, that is the image. But investigations uncovered something far less pure. Some batches tested positive for coliform bacteria, indicators of fecal contamination. Other samples contained arsenic levels that approached or exceeded EPA safety limits. For seniors, arsenic exposure is not a minor concern. It worsens cardiovascular conditions, damages kidneys already strained by age or medication, and increases cancer risk. Arsenic is a known carcinogen. Even at levels the government deems acceptable, long-term exposure compounds health problems. You expect water to support your body, not slowly poison it. Nestle Pure Life promises alpine freshness and natural purity, yet the reality is industrial-scale water processing with inconsistent safety standards. The company sources from multiple locations, and quality varies. One batch might be safe. The next could harbor contaminants. Testing by the Center for Environmental Health found arsenic in Nestle Pure Life at levels approaching 10 parts per billion, the federal maximum. But experts argue that any detectable arsenic is too much, especially for vulnerable populations. Seniors with diabetes, kidney disease, or hypertension should avoid any unnecessary arsenic exposure. The metal accumulates in organs, disrupts cellular function, and interferes with medications. The simple white label with a mountain logo sells a fantasy. The truth is, corporate water bottling with profit prioritized over safety. Coliform bacteria indicate sewage or animal waste contamination. Finding it in drinking water means filtration failed. For someone with a weakened immune system, that can lead to gastrointestinal illness or worse. The company's response to contamination findings has been defensive and slow. Recalls happen quietly. Adjustments are promised but not always verified. Meanwhile, millions of bottles continue to flow into stores, homes, and the hands of seniors who trust the brand's reputation. That trust is misplaced. Every sip is a roll of the dice. Will this batch be clean or contaminated? You should not have to gamble with your water. At number 9, Poland Spring. Advertised for over a century as 100% natural spring water from Maine. The name evokes purity, crisp mountain streams, untouched wilderness. But a class action lawsuit revealed that the water is not from springs at all. It is drawn from wells, not natural springs, and some samples tested positive for PFAS contamination. The green label with pristine nature imagery sells a fantasy, while the truth hides in courtroom documents and lab reports. Seniors trusting the heritage brand for clean hydration are unknowingly consuming chemicals that accumulate in organs over time. PFAS molecules bind to proteins in blood and tissue. They do not wash out. They do not metabolize. They stay. For someone managing heart disease, high blood pressure, or kidney function, adding PFAS to the mix is like asking an overloaded system to carry even more weight. The body cannot keep up. Plaintiffs in the lawsuit argued that Poland spring water does not meet the FDA definition of spring water because the sources are not naturally occurring springs. Instead, the company drills wells and pumps groundwater, then markets it as spring water. The deception is not just semantic, it is financial. Consumers pay a premium for spring water, believing it is naturally filtered through rock and soil, emerging pure from the earth. What they actually get is well water with a misleading label. Testing by Consumer Reports found PFAS in Poland Spring, evidence that the groundwater sources are contaminated by industrial pollution or agricultural runoff. Maine has a history of manufacturing and waste disposal that left PFAS in soil and water. Drawing from wells in those areas guarantees contamination. For seniors, the concern is cumulative exposure. One bottle might not cause immediate harm, but years of daily consumption build up a toxic load that stresses kidneys, disrupts hormone function, and increases disease risk. The brand's century-old reputation offers no protection against modern chemical pollution. You cannot trust history when the present is contaminated. Most people never learn how these brands get away with this, but we will break it down by the end of the video. Coming in at number 8, Deer Park. Owned by Nestle, this brand claims to draw from protected natural springs across the eastern United States. The peaceful deer logo suggests wilderness purity, untouched by industry or pollution. But environmental testing near bottling plants told a different story. Evidence of groundwater depletion and contamination seepage. Some bottles tested positive for E. coli traces and elevated fluoride levels. For seniors with sensitive digestive systems or those on blood thinners, E. coli exposure can lead to serious infection. Even trace amounts can trigger illness in someone with a compromised immune system. The brand promises spring purity, yet behind the logo lies corporate water extraction with questionable oversight. Testing by environmental groups found fluoride in Deer Park at levels higher than recommended for seniors. Excessive fluoride weakens bones, a significant concern for older adults already at risk for osteoporosis. It can also interfere with thyroid function, particularly problematic for anyone taking levothyroxine or similar medications. The interaction between fluoride and thyroid medication can reduce drug effectiveness, leaving hypothyroidism uncontrolled. E. coli contamination, even at low levels, indicates fecal matter in the water. That means filtration and treatment failed. For a brand that markets itself as natural spring water, finding fecal bacteria is a catastrophic failure. Seniors who assume Deer Park is safer than tap water are mistaken. In some cases, municipal tap water undergoes more rigorous testing and treatment. The company's bottling plants have faced scrutiny for environmental damage. Extracting millions of gallons of groundwater depletes local aquifers, harms ecosystems, and sometimes allows surface contamination to seep into underground sources. When you drain an aquifer faster than it recharges, water quality suffers. Pollutants concentrate. Bacteria find pathways. What was once a clean source becomes compromised. The deer logo and nature imagery mask industrial-scale extraction with minimal accountability. You are not drinking from a pristine mountain spring. You are drinking from a depleted well with inconsistent safety standards. At number 7, we have Ice Mountain, another Nestle brand promising fresh Michigan spring water. The icy blue packaging evokes glacial freshness, cold and pure. But FDA inspections revealed lapses in sanitation protocols at bottling facilities, mold found on equipment surfaces, aging machinery, compromised cleanliness standards. For seniors with respiratory conditions or weakened immunity, mold-related toxins that leach into water are particularly dangerous. Mycotoxins produced by mold can trigger allergic reactions, respiratory distress, and systemic inflammation. You do not have to see mold in the water for it to harm you. Microscopic spores and toxins are invisible. If mold grows on equipment that contacts water, contamination is inevitable. Ice Mountain's facilities were cited for inadequate cleaning procedures and failure to maintain sterile conditions. That is not a minor oversight. It is a fundamental failure of food safety. Water production requires strict sanitation because water is consumed directly. No cooking to kill bacteria, no processing to remove toxins. What is in the bottle is what enters your body. When equipment harbors mold, every bottle that passes through carries potential contamination. For seniors taking immunosuppressant drugs, chemotherapy, or managing autoimmune conditions, even low-level mold exposure can be catastrophic. The immune system cannot mount an adequate defense. Infections take hold quickly. Respiratory symptoms worsen. Inflammation spreads. The brand advertises Michigan spring water, fresh and natural. The reality is industrial bottling with sanitation problems. FDA inspectors found mold in areas where water is processed and packaged. That means direct contact between contaminated surfaces and the product. Nestle's response was to promise improvements, but the damage to Ice Mountain's credibility was done. How many bottles were contaminated before inspectors caught the problem? How many people drank mold-laced water without knowing? For seniors, the risk is not theoretical. Mycotoxins can cause liver damage, neurological symptoms, and immune dysfunction. Combine that with pre-existing health conditions and medications, and you have a recipe for serious complications. The icy blue bottle promises refreshment. What it might deliver is contamination your body cannot handle. Want the real truth about what you are drinking? Subscribe now so you never get blindsided by hidden water dangers that could be harming your health right now. Coming in at number 6, Smart Water. Glasso's Vapor Distilled Water enhanced with electrolytes. Marketed to health-conscious consumers who want more than just water. The sleek, minimalist bottle design suggests scientific purity and innovation, but laboratory analysis found phthalates, plastic softening chemicals, leaching from bottles into the water, especially after heat exposure. For seniors, phthalates are endocrine disruptors that affect hormone balance and kidney function. These chemicals mimic estrogen and interfere with normal hormone signaling. In older adults, hormone balance is already delicate. Thyroid function slows. Insulin response changes. Adding phthalates to the mix throws the system further off balance. Research links phthalate exposure to increased risk of diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and kidney damage. A study published in Environmental Health Perspectives found that seniors with the highest phthalate levels had a 40% greater risk of developing chronic kidney disease. The sleek bottle that promises smart hydration is actually a delivery system for hormone-disrupting chemicals. Phthalates leach more rapidly when bottles are exposed to heat. Left in a car on a warm day, smart water becomes a chemical soup. The longer it sits, the more phthalates migrate from plastic into liquid. You cannot taste them, you cannot see them, but they are there altering your body's chemistry with every sip. For someone managing thyroid medication, the interaction can be significant. Phthalates interfere with thyroid hormone synthesis and transport. If you are taking levothyroxine and drinking smart water regularly, your medication might not work as intended. Blood tests show inconsistent thyroid levels. Doctors adjust dosages. The real problem, the phthalate exposure, goes unnoticed. The brand markets itself as a premium product with enhanced hydration, but distillation and electrolyte addition do nothing to address plastic contamination. The bottle itself is the hazard. Vapor distillation removes impurities from the source water, but it cannot prevent chemicals from leaching out of the packaging. You are paying extra for water that disrupts your hormones and stresses your kidneys. The chemistry happening inside that bottle is not the purification they advertise. It is polymer degradation releasing toxins into your drinking water. Do you think these companies actually test for everything they put on store shelves, or just the bare minimum they are legally required to check? Now at number 5, Arrowhead, sourced from California Mountain Springs, according to the label. The Mountain Peak logo promises elevation and purity, water drawn from high-altitude sources far from pollution. But investigations revealed the company has been extracting water from sources whose permits expired decades ago. Testing showed contamination with arsenic levels approaching unsafe thresholds. For seniors with existing kidney disease or heart conditions, arsenic exposure is not something the body can tolerate. It accumulates, it damages, it kills. Arsenic is a heavy metal that disrupts cellular function at the molecular level. It interferes with ATP production, the energy currency of cells. Kidneys filter blood continuously. When arsenic enters the system, it concentrates in renal tissue, causing oxidative stress and inflammation. Over time, this leads to chronic kidney disease, hypertension, and increased cardiovascular risk. Studies show that even low-level arsenic exposure increases heart attack risk by 30% in older adults. Arrowhead's California sources are located in areas with naturally occurring arsenic in geological formations. The company's filtration should remove it, but testing indicates they are not always successful. Samples approaching 10 parts per billion, the EPA limit, were found. But health experts argue that no level of arsenic is truly safe, especially for vulnerable populations. The Mountain Peak logo and California Spring imagery create an illusion of pristine water. The reality involves extraction from expired permits and contamination that threatens public health. Environmental groups have fought for years to stop Arrowhead's operations in the San Bernardino National Forest, where the company draws millions of gallons despite questionable legal authority. Regulatory failures and aging infrastructure mean contamination risks are high. For seniors, drinking Arrowhead is a gamble with arsenic exposure. One bottle might be fine. The next could push you over a threshold where kidney function declines. Arsenic does not cause immediate symptoms. It accumulates silently, damaging organs until the effects become undeniable. By then, the damage is often irreversible. Chronic kidney disease, cardiovascular deterioration, increased cancer risk, all from a product marketed as pure mountain spring water. At number 4, Essentia, marketed as ionized alkaline water with superior hydration and health benefits for aging bodies. The premium price tag suggests premium safety. The black bottle, with scientific branding, screams innovation and cutting-edge health technology. But independent testing found inconsistent pH levels and traces of chlorine byproducts in certain batches. For seniors taking medications for blood pressure or cholesterol, highly alkaline water can interfere with drug absorption and effectiveness. Stomach acid is critical for breaking down many medications. When you drink water with a pH above 9, you temporarily neutralize stomach acid. That can delay or prevent medication from dissolving properly. Blood pressure drugs might not absorb fully. Cholesterol, medication effectiveness drops. You take your pills with Essentia thinking you are doing something healthy, but you are actually undermining your treatment. Studies on alkaline water show no significant health benefits beyond what regular water provides. The claims about superior hydration, detoxification, and enhanced wellness lack rigorous scientific support. The FDA has not approved any health claims for alkaline water. It is marketing, not medicine. Independent labs testing Essentia found pH levels that varied between batches. One bottle measured 9.2, another measured 8.5. Inconsistency suggests poor quality control. If the primary selling point is a specific pH level and you cannot maintain it reliably, what else is inconsistent? Testing also detected chlorine byproducts, specifically trihalomethanes, which form when chlorine used in water treatment reacts with organic matter. These compounds are classified as potential carcinogens. The EPA regulates them in tap water, but bottled water oversight is less strict. Finding trihalomethanes in Essentia indicates either contaminated source water or inadequate filtration. For seniors, long-term exposure to these chemicals increases cancer risk and liver damage. The black bottle and scientific language create an aura of legitimacy. The actual product is overpriced water with unproven health claims and potential contamination. You are paying 5 times the price of regular water for a product that might interfere with your medications and expose you to carcinogens. The innovation is in the marketing, not the water. Why do the most expensive waters still manage to have contamination issues? Is price just marketing, or does it actually mean safer? Coming in at number 3, Core Hydration, positioned as perfectly balanced pH water with added minerals for optimal health. The clean white label with blue accents suggests medical-grade purity, but testing revealed the plastic bottles leach antimony, a toxic metalloid, into the water over time, especially when stored in warm conditions or left in cars. Seniors are more susceptible to antimony poisoning, which can mimic flu symptoms and cause cardiac issues. Antimony is used in the production of PET plastic bottles. Small amounts remain in the material and leach into contents, particularly when exposed to heat. Antimony toxicity causes nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and muscle pain. In severe cases, it affects heart rhythm and blood pressure. For someone already managing cardiovascular medication, antimony exposure adds an unpredictable variable. The symptoms are vague and easily mistaken for other conditions. You feel unwell. Your doctor runs tests. Nothing obvious shows up. Meanwhile, antimony from your daily water intake continues accumulating in tissue. Studies show that antimony levels in bottled water increase significantly after storage at higher temperatures. A bottle left in a car for a few hours can have antimony concentrations several times higher than a freshly produced bottle stored in cool conditions. Most consumers do not think about storage temperature. They buy a case, leave it in the trunk, grab a bottle when thirsty. By the time you drink it, the water has been sitting in heat for hours or days. Antimony has migrated from plastic into liquid. You cannot taste it, you cannot see it, but it is there. Core Hydration promises balanced pH and optimal minerals. The packaging itself is the contamination source. The very thing that contains the product undermines its safety. For seniors, who often buy cases in bulk and store them in garages or vehicles, the risk is even higher. Chronic low-level antimony exposure has been linked to respiratory issues, cardiovascular stress, and gastrointestinal problems. The clean label and medical branding create an illusion of safety. The reality is that your drinking water is leaching toxins from its container. Stick around, the solution comes at the very end, and it could change how you choose water forever. At number 2, we have Penta Ultra Purified Water. Advertised as the purest bottled water available, processed through a 13-step purification system. The clear, clinical packaging promises laboratory-grade safety. For seniors seeking the safest possible hydration, Penta seems like the ideal choice. But consumer reports documented that some batches contained elevated levels of bromate, a disinfection byproduct linked to increased cancer risk and kidney damage. Bromate forms when ozone, used to disinfect water, reacts with bromide naturally present in source water. The more aggressive the disinfection, the more bromate can form. Penta's multi-step purification includes ozone treatment to kill pathogens. But if not carefully controlled, ozone creates bromate. The EPA sets a maximum contaminant level of 10 parts per billion for bromate in public drinking water. Testing found Penta batches approaching or exceeding this limit. For seniors, bromate exposure is particularly concerning. It damages kidneys, disrupts cellular DNA, and increases cancer risk. Long-term consumption of bromate-contaminated water has been linked to renal cell carcinoma and bladder cancer. Animal studies show that bromate causes oxidative stress in kidney tissue, accelerating the decline of renal function. For someone already managing chronic kidney disease, additional bromate exposure hastens progression toward dialysis. The clinical packaging and purification claims create a sense of absolute safety. 13 steps, ultra-purified, laboratory-grade, but purification processes themselves can introduce new contaminants when not properly monitored. Ozone disinfection is effective at killing bacteria and viruses, but the chemical reactions it triggers can create toxic byproducts. Penta markets itself as the pinnacle of bottled water purity. The reality is that aggressive treatment without adequate quality control produces a product with cancer-causing compounds. You pay a premium for water that might be harming you at the molecular level. The irony is stark. The more they purify, the more they contaminate. Ever notice how the brands that brag most about purity are sometimes the ones hiding the biggest problems? Coming in at number 1, Fiji water, the ultimate luxury water. Sourced from an underground aquifer in Fiji and marketed as untouched by man until you open the bottle. The square bottle and tropical flower logo scream exotic purity. Paradise in a bottle. Water from a pristine island far from industrial pollution. But studies found Fiji water contains arsenic levels multiple times higher than competitors, along with detectable amounts of bacteria despite filtration claims. For seniors already managing hypertension or kidney function, arsenic accumulation can be devastating. The Paradise packaging sells a dream, while the reality involves volcanic rock filtration that concentrates natural arsenic into every sip. Fiji water's source is rainwater that filters through volcanic rock over hundreds of years before reaching an underground aquifer. The company markets this as a natural purification process. But volcanic rock contains arsenic. As water percolates through these formations, it picks up the heavy metal. The longer the contact time, the more arsenic dissolves into the water. Testing revealed arsenic levels in Fiji water at 6.31 micrograms per liter. While this is below the EPA limit of 10 micrograms per liter, it is significantly higher than most competitors. Cleveland Clinic research indicates that consuming just 10 micrograms of arsenic daily increases cardiovascular disease risk by 30% over time. For someone drinking a liter of Fiji water each day, the cumulative exposure adds up. The arsenic does not flush out. It binds to proteins in blood and tissue. Over months and years, it accumulates. Kidney function declines. Blood pressure becomes harder to control. Cardiovascular risk climbs. Bacteria detection in Fiji water is another concern. Despite claims of untouched purity, testing found low levels of bacterial contamination in some batches. This suggests either the aquifer itself harbors bacteria or contamination occurs during bottling and handling. For seniors with weakened immune systems, bacterial contamination can lead to gastrointestinal illness and systemic infection. The brand's environmental and ethical record is equally troubling. Shipping water halfway around the world creates an enormous carbon footprint. Meanwhile, native Fijians have at times struggled with access to clean drinking water. The company extracts millions of gallons for export while local communities face water scarcity. The poetic advertising about rain filtered through volcanic rock for centuries masks resource injustice and chemical contamination. Fiji water costs more than almost any other bottled water. The premium price suggests premium safety. The reality is arsenic levels that increase long-term health risks and bacterial contamination that undermines purity claims. You are paying for marketing and packaging, not safety. The tropical flower logo and exotic origin story distract from the chemical reality inside the bottle. Every sip is a bet against your cardiovascular and renal health. The first actual safe option, Mountain Valley. Spring water. Glass-bottled spring water from Arkansas. Rigorously tested and consistently free from microplastics, PFAS, and heavy metals. The glass packaging eliminates plastic leaching entirely. No phthalates, no antimony, no polymer particles entering your water. For seniors, this matters. Glass is inert. It does not react with contents. It does not degrade in heat. It does not release chemicals over time. What goes into the bottle stays pure until you drink it. Mountain Valley has been bottling spring water since 1871. Over a century of consistent quality, the spring source is naturally filtered through limestone and sandstone formations, providing balanced mineral content without contamination. Independent lab testing confirms the water is free from PFAS, arsenic, bacteria, and microplastics. The mineral profile includes calcium and magnesium in amounts beneficial for bone and cardiovascular health without excessive levels that could interfere with medications. For someone managing kidney function, the low sodium content is ideal. The spring water is naturally slightly alkaline, with a pH around 7.8, gentle enough not to interfere with stomach acid and medication absorption. The glass bottles are heavier and more expensive to ship, but the trade-off is safety. No plastic means no chemical leaching, no risk of antimony or phthalates. The taste is clean and neutral, with a slight mineral sweetness that comes from natural calcium and magnesium. Mountain Valley is transparent about sourcing and testing. Annual water quality reports are publicly available. The company does not hide behind vague marketing claims. They provide data. For seniors concerned about what they are drinking, this transparency is invaluable. You know exactly what is in the water, where it comes from, and how it is tested. Glass bottles are recyclable and reusable. Environmental impact is lower than single-use plastic. The spring source is protected and sustainably managed. This is what bottled water should be: pure, safe, transparent, and responsibly produced. The second recommendation, Evian, French Alps spring water with one of the longest track records of consistent safety testing and transparency. Naturally filtered through glacial rocks for 15 years before bottling. This prolonged filtration removes impurities while adding beneficial minerals like calcium, magnesium, and potassium. The result is balanced mineral content safe for seniors managing kidney health and blood pressure. Independent labs consistently rate Evian among the cleanest bottled waters available. Testing shows no detectable PFAS, no heavy metals, and microplastic levels among the lowest in the industry. The source, a protected watershed in the French Alps, is far from industrial pollution. Rainwater and snowmelt seep through layers of glacial sand and rock, emerging naturally purified at the Evian spring. The company has maintained this source for over 2 centuries, with strict environmental protections ensuring long-term quality. For seniors, Evian's mineral content is ideal. Calcium supports bone health without excessive amounts that could cause kidney stones. Magnesium aids cardiovascular function and helps regulate blood pressure. Potassium is present in moderate levels, beneficial for heart rhythm without posing risks for those on potassium-sparing diuretics. The naturally neutral pH around 7.2 is gentle on digestion and does not interfere with medication absorption. Evian is transparent about its sourcing and testing. Water quality reports are published regularly. The company does not make exaggerated health claims. They let the water's natural quality speak for itself. This honesty is refreshing in an industry filled with misleading marketing. The plastic bottles Evian uses are a downside compared to glass, but the company has committed to using 100% recycled plastic by 2025 and improving sustainability. While not perfect, Evian represents a reliable choice for seniors who need consistent, clean hydration without contamination risks. The taste is smooth and slightly mineral, pleasant without being overpowering. It does not have the flat processed taste of purified tap water or the chemical aftertaste of some enhanced waters. This is what natural spring water should taste like: clean, refreshing, and safe. For someone concerned about arsenic, PFAS, bacteria, or microplastics, Evian offers peace of mind. Decades of consistent testing and quality control mean you can trust what is in the bottle. No surprises, no hidden contaminants, just water as it should be. Not all water is created equal. Some bottles hide dangers that can destroy your health over time. From microplastics that lodge in your organs to arsenic that accumulates in your kidneys, from bacteria that can trigger infections to chemicals that disrupt your medications, the risks are real, and they are hidden behind bright labels and false promises. 13 brands we covered today betray the trust you place in them every time you twist open a cap and take a sip. They promise purity and deliver contamination. They promise health and deliver harm. For seniors managing blood pressure, kidney disease, diabetes, or heart conditions, these hidden dangers are not just inconvenient, they are life-threatening. But it does not have to be this way. Mountain Valley, spring water, and Evian show that clean, safe bottled water is possible when companies prioritize quality over profit and transparency over deception. glass bottles that eliminate plastic leaching, spring sources protected from pollution, rigorous testing that confirms what the label promises. These are the standards every bottled water should meet. When you choose water, you are making a decision that affects every cell in your body. Your kidneys filter it, your heart pumps it, your brain relies on it. Do not let marketing fool you into drinking contamination. Do not trust brands that have been caught lying, recalled for safety violations, or flagged by independent testing. Your health is too important to gamble on a bottle with a pretty label. Subscribe now, and if you are watching on TV, tap your remote so you never get blindsided again. I will keep investigating, keep testing, and keep exposing the truth these companies do not want you to know, because you deserve to know what is really in your water before it is too late. What is the worst bottled water brand you have ever tried? Drop it in the comments below.